Awesome.
Good. Right.
We'll call the Monday, June 29th, Board of Selectmen meeting to order at 6 p.m. All rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with the roll call.
Diana Norfolk, Chris Caruso,
Chris Allen, John Chavez,
Kathleen Palacio.
John Harrington,
And can those present in the room with us please state your name for our minutes transcriptions?
Peter DeSantis, facility supervisor.
John Sarelli, Chief Fire Department.
Louise Ryder, present. Brenda Merrill, I'm Brown.
Trustee.
I'm on the trust board of trustee.
Ron and awful trustee trust funds.
Sean McDonald, trustee of trustees.
And we will start with citizens' comments.
Oh, thank you.
I don't see a light.
You're gonna be on TV, so.
There it is, your light's on. You got it. It's on now.
Want to come and sit up? Yes. So citizen comments are, we ask you to try to keep it to 10 minutes. It's not a back and forth, it's just for you to state your concerns.
I do have a question for the town and the board. Do we have any type of like insurance to cover any like lawsuits in the town? Like, does each department have to cover anything? Like about the insurance having a house, it's the same type of thing. Is there anything that would cover the town with potential lawsuits or, you know, legal? Because we get told all the time that these, but you know what's going on. And I'm not gonna mention what it is, but whatever's going on, it potentially costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, as you mentioned. But I was wondering, does anybody know if there's any actual insurance that the town carries or each department carries any type of insurance, anything that lawsuits?
The town does have insurance, but this isn't a back and forth. If you'd like to be put on the agenda for something that you'd like research, you can ask me.
That's my comment, so I just made a comment, that's fine. And my other comment was, what is the length of time that the $1.5 million has been owed to this town in back taxes? Is this, obviously it's cumulative over a few years, but do we have any actual time frame of when this started to become such a serious problem? Was it like 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago? And I know that I've heard about the comments about how it can be addressed. And this year is not likely because of the legal situation, the legal expenses in the town. So I was just wondering, is there any input from the town? I'd like, you know, because obviously that money would do great. I went to the budget committee meeting and that money would like lower our taxes, like $3. But each person, that's a lot of money. So I was just wondering, like, how does this happen? Like, it doesn't happen in 1 year. So it happens cumulatively for, you know, say 5 years ago. It started out with maybe 200,000, then $1.5 million is.
If I could just give a general response. So on your insurance questions, you know, these are questions that can be answered by the staff at the town. So on your insurance question, I think that Administrator Harrington would be able to answer those questions. The town clerk would be able to answer a bunch of taxes and timeframes and all of that.
I understand what you're saying, but I think there's a lot of residents in this town that would like to have some answers, so I'm just bringing it forward. Because, you know, just to go talk to one person, but this isn't just me, I hear a lot of people making comments and not understanding. So this is why I'm bringing it, because I think it's a public time to be able to discuss it, and then just, you know, if you don't have any answers, that's fine, but I think it's good to bring it to the table.
I would say we would have answers, but as Chair Palacio stated, in order for there to be dialogue between us, that would need to be put on the agenda.
How would I go about requesting that?
You reach out to John.
Just give you a call.
And one other quick. For Kathleen. I wanted, there was a post that said that, you had said that there was a discount for if you live in a mobile home park. So I don't know, I know we have access, that's not, but the actual post that said, we were answering somebody that said that there was, if you live in a mobile home park, you get a discount. So
It's not a discount, it's the way that it's assessed, but again, that's something that you would need to put on the agenda if you want.
oh, what's
to
a
go into
discount?
more.
So it's not, you don't get a discount.
The way the property is assessed, they take into account it's a mobile home in a park, not on its own. So it is assessed differently than a home that's on the street, but again, that's something that we would need to have on the agenda or.
I'd like to
Speak out to the
address that,
assessor.
since everybody wonders what that discount actually was to the degree. Thank you very much.
Any other citizens' comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the department committee reports, the future town hall update with the facility supervisor, Peter DeSantis.
Hi, thank you. I didn't realize it was such a mess, but I was crawling around in the ceiling, so, it's not good. So things are progressing well, nothing really, new to add. Railings, both stair wells are done, they're working on the middle one, should be done this week. All the interior doors are done, the town clerk area is done, except the glass has been ordered, I think that was for the last time, that should be any time now. That's about it, we're doing well.
Sounds good.
Any questions? That's it.
Thank you, Stephen.
And I do not see Mike Frassinella here.
Yes, yes.
Oh, there he is, sorry, I missed you, Mike. And next up, we have our EDC chairman, Mike Frassinella.
Yes, we had a concert yesterday. Comfortable and movie time frame, 5 o'clock. Take advantage of the cooler part of the day, so move the shade if you want. To. Almost, not raining, it's total dark, both will single features. Get traded time frames. Trade off the. Scene. Yes, and then of course, football acts. Fun. So. Steve would say, if I can sing final poems with. That and that helps Peter to say this in front of mine. One more, some power and be out and set up for the one. Firefighters Association and Selectmen. They were pretty cold water and. We saw it, and see. So it's all a good thing, and a lot of teenagers, the next couple about a dozen.
Oh, that's.
There's fun. One whole place. And it's some town football, so it's football office. They were having fun playing. That's it's. So turned out to be the best of the events.
It sounds like the changes you made worked out well.
I really think we really like the idea of positions. Yes, usually my mother is the sister of. Thank you very much. Like the town, it was mom.
Yeah.
So she would be good. Contact with you.
Yes. Thank you, Mike. And I'll just read aloud for people to know, there are still 2 open positions on the municipal budget committee, 1 emergency management director, and 3 positions for the zoning board of adjustment, 1 standing position and 2 alternates.
We're down to just 2 alternates.
Just
Just have a volunteer from you, so the paperwork's in progress.
Okay.
For the last standing, and so we have 2.
Did
Was
us
it the-
putting it on here, do you know if that helped?
She just moved into, so she probably went on.
Yeah, I just seen it.
Or maybe saw this, I don't know if she saw it.
I thought that was a.
Works for us.
Yeah,
So,
perfect. And then we'll move on to the town administrators.
Have two items. The first, had a question from the Shoreland Boat Association. They would like to know if some of their members could camp at the boat ramp the night between, would be Saturday night, just to keep an eye on the equipment and the boats. They'll be self-sustained, they don't need water or electricity, but I told them my greatest
Do we have any type of policy on that? Is there
that I
any,
found,
do you know how many of them? are
just
there?
two.
it's probably worth watching her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
So I'll get back to them and say that's good. And secondarily, I brought in some demographic from the Boys and Girls Club, it's in your folder. I believe that was a question you had asked, Trish.
We were wondering this, whether they were looking for. Scholarship.
Yes,
Their annual scholarship donation, yes.
we usually give 16,000. And we had talked about decreasing it in future years, I think is where we do that. I had been concerned that they were counting on the money this year, but we wanted to get the background. So that we would know. What the attendance there looked like from towns and.
So you've got the town by town breakdown of what donations are being given and from where. And then you also have the breakdown of the number of children to what towns are.
These are the only towns that donate to.
Correct.
Surprised that many other towns actually don't take it. I'm surprised.
They're all
to
up
see
north
this.
mostly.
Yeah, so is this to the larger Boys and Girls Club?
I'm not sure.
Fund?
I had asked, what are your donations from the state?
Yeah.
And this is what they gave.
One of the gaps that I'm seeing here though is of our donation, where have they gone? I think that's where our concern is. So, you know, if we reduce it, we could affect the children, you know. I'm seeing. Maybe I'm missing, I'm seeing. How much of our.
I don't think they gave me that information, they just broke down where the children are coming from, not individual assistance.
Am I remembering incorrectly that you were really wanting to give me for much?
I had asked that question. This is what I got.
So we have time, I mean, this is just something we have to decide tonight, so we look at it and, you know, try to do some.
I think we asked that, she did see if they would give that. I don't know if they'll give it to me, but.
Yeah, this information to me, it seems like this was statewide, like this.
It looks like it.
All the stations, yeah.
So if they aren't able to answer that, you know, where does the town donation go to specifically? If they could explain why.
Did Pembroke contribute at one time in the?
Not that I was aware of, the only town that they said contributed at one time. Students.
But,
The only town that contributed at one time doesn't currently is.
and what?
Is that it for
That's
the
it, thank you, yes.
We'll move on to the consent calendar. So there were, I want to pull all the non-public minutes, so that would be items 2 through 6.
Like to do that.
Also, the June side or I sent you. In your public minutes. There was at least one. Typo, you know, where it said Mr. Thompson.
So that's item number 1, so you want to start here. Big one.
Yes, and then, yeah, also, when we reach that one.
So 126.
That brings us down. Then to 9 items that are being approved, so the following 9 items are considered routine and will be approved in one motion. Items have been sent to board members to review prior to this meeting and copies are posted with the meeting agenda for public review. Does any member of the board wish to remove an item for separate consideration? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Not seeing none, seeing that we're removing items through 6, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended consent calendar for June 29, 2026.
So,
Second,
second,
all in favor?
Diana, Trisha.
Chris, I,
John, I.
Kathleen.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we will move on to our regular agenda. The Boys and Girls Club. Community Center Solar Panel Proposal from Revision Energy. Okay, so I will through this and is there an upfront cost for us on this? I was a little confused by it, the Boys and Girls Club was asking.
Right now, we're not going to, so put it in gate.
Okay, so that just needs.
Some case flat,
And we currently pay the electric,
even flat.
so we would realize
Once
the
it does,
savings.
correct, then I. Surrender.
So there are other companies out there that you don't get to money.
It is a force here,
So now,
but there's only. Two goals.
part of some of those companies, they will, give us our discount. With people. Some places will rent space on the building. As well, so, there's a variety of ways in which it's done. There are ways, but have some there without, front lines.
So
Explore those other
we
options.
should ask them to do that research, or should town be doing that research? It's our electric bill, our building, I think they brought this to our attention, I think it's a great idea, support it, but I do think there is a more efficient way and a more cost-effective way to do this. Should definitely do that research before getting in.
But this email came from staff at Revision Energy, that's what we're.
Well, was initially brought by the Boys and Girls Club to my attention. They let this person know to send this stuff to me. The only thing I was able to find out that this had been brought up in the past.
Yeah.
And the concern was, before you think about putting solar panels on that building, the age of the building. We may need to put on the roof line first.
The other one.
Because if that roof ages out, then we've got to incur a cost, and they can like all the solar panels off, then redoing the roof. Which could be size.
To that as well. So there are other companies that say, replace the rule, right, to get wins into better things. And part of their, that's, there are companies that do it that way. Again, there's. On top.
These are the ones that don't.
Nothing I know.
No. John, Nate,
Yeah.
Dan, I was on the power committee, we talked about this several years ago.
Oh, that would be something
1970.
that the taxpayers would end up getting.
We talked about this at the power committee.
Folks that have done it successfully, and I can please find out who they do. But I would say maybe voice those talk.
Chris would like to.
yeah, and just curiosity, you said something about the roof might need to be replaced if they decide to put solar panels up there. Is there any place there where they consider doing ground mounted solar rather than going through the expense of possibly replacing that roof?
That's a good idea too. It might be. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
Possible.
And did you have something you?
Ron was trying to say something about tax reserve.
Yeah, we don't have one, but I was vice chairman of the power committee, which now we haven't met because the net metering and all the stuff really didn't work out well. We talked about that building. I believe there's minutes of the meeting somewhere that the power company, Standard Power, came in, we talked about it, and they said that because of the age of the building and having to change the roof, by the time they calculate what it would cost you to change the roof, put the panels back on, the savings would be very minimal because of the age of the building. Now, some of these companies, from what we were told for Standard Power, you have to be careful because all of their little caveats, they might give you a small portion of that. And then the next time you have to change the roof, then you have the cost of taking the panels off, doing the roof, and then putting the panels back on. So that's kind of the hidden cost that you kind of incur. So how much cost are you gonna really save by putting the solar panels on the building? You know, versus, we had talked about that at length. Because I think at the time, a company had come in and stated they wanted to do that down there. And it was, at that point in time, it was not cost effective. So,
Is the school board, we were addressed this issue too, because they wanted to put solar panels on the roof. You also need to have an engineer look at that roof to see if it will support the rating. So something else to consider.
Well, I like your idea, Chris, of seeing maybe go on through. I don't know how feasible that would be down there, maybe children outside, and maybe worried about damage happening or taking up the playground space.
Well, I was thinking,
But it's-
in the back, kind of, it's where the fire, is an open green space, that they could possibly put something there. I don't know how many panels they're looking at, but.
Yeah. So it sounds like we wanna do a little more research on this. So would you like John to ask Boys and Girls Club to do that
Yes,
research,
right,
if they're the
yeah.
ones who are making the request?
I would look very closely at the fine print in those contracts.
Yeah.
Gotta be really careful.
Yeah, but I understand, Veronica, just look at our solar bill, because I'm pretty sure on our solar bill at fire station, whatever we don't use goes to the boys and girls. Whatever we generate offsets them too, so I would have her
Okay.
look at that before, yeah, because if we're gonna put them on there and we're already offsetting it with us.
Yeah.
That means she,
Right.
cause I looked at it the other day with her and I'm like, oh, I picked the Boys and Girls Club Energy too, so I would have her look like. Or somebody look into that before you guys go way too deep into
Okay.
looking
Good,
into it.
point. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so we will move on to the next agenda item, which is the Emergency Services Revolving Fund versus Capital Reserve Now. Thank you for all the information you sent, John. That was very helpful, especially asked for that. There was a lot to look through, and take in. But my original proposal was that we do a warrant article here to see if the voters are in favor of discontinuing the revolving fund or if they want to keep it. Just asking that question, if that's how they would like their money managed. So I think Trish brought up a good point that she wanted to see what was in that account. I think if we did a warrant article, what we really need to look at as well is the CIP. I wouldn't want to leave the fire department unfunded, that's not my intention at all. My intention is to take a look at what that equipment replacement schedule is. Figure out what it's going to cost us and save appropriately each year instead of saving in excess, which to me, when I saw these numbers. Without that CIP plan, it's a little hard to figure out, but it looks like there could potentially be quite a bit more money in there than you actually need. So again, it's not a decision we can make, it's one the voters have to make, and I just think that it would be prudent to. Now that it's been a couple of years, to ask them, are you happy with it being managed this way, or would you like to make a change?
So in my research on all of this, kind of did, an analysis of what are we striving for, right? Not going back. So if we're striving to lower so we can lower the currently those funds are being governed by the RSA page. Specifically one vehicle. we stay with the revolving fund, well, and with the capital reserve fund, there is limitations on what you use that for. Doesn't mean we couldn't use some of that for specific equipment items or capital improvement types or items. So there's a couple of things within the capital reserve fund we potentially use that for. In my looking at it, I think that it would be good if we asked the fire chief to say, out of the revolving fund, these are the items that are gonna be funded for legal, and make that known ahead of time. Because currently, I believe, correct me if I misunderstood you, but when I met with John, he stated that currently he's spending out of the operating budget, and that gets exhausted. All, but if we can specify items, and we did specify a couple of things that could be used for, the funds from the revolving fund could be used for. And we know that going in, we can then lower that.
My point is though that it can be managed that way, and I believe that most towns who have a revolving fund do manage it that way. Or they even create their budget, they know what is gonna come out of that revolving fund. But again, the voters have no say, and I feel like we've had a really tough time in going to the default budget over and over again. Because the voters don't have it. I think they're seeing, and it may help to do that, but I personally, I know I've seen the way that money's been managed. And we won't always be on this board, and when future boards come in. I would rather have it be a capital reserve myself, I don't know that the voters feel that way, and what I'm proposing is letting the voters make that choice. We can't make that choice, I'm just proposing, putting the question to them. Do you want to have control of your money? Do you want it to stay in the revolving fund and the VOS have control of that money?
So with the capital reserve fund, we would have to be specific as to what that would be. So I don't know that the voters are gonna come and tell us what they want that to be in public hearing. Okay, but we're still speculating what that might be palatable to voters. I'm not saying yes or no, I'm just saying these are things we have to consider. It's limited, the items are limited. The choices will still be made by person by supporter, supporters, or where maybe specific things that funds would go to. Exactly.
My concern with going to, and I see where you're coming from. My concern going to the capital improvement or capital reserve, moving away from a revolving fund is, if God forbid something breaks down at the time. And it needs to be replaced right away. If we go to a capital improvement, we have to wait an entire year to the following March to get it.
No. You can
So how would it
spend,
work?
you can spend out of capital reserve account any time from the year, that's what we have as a default budget. And so it's funded in March. But if we did a warrant article, and if the voters were in favor of discontinuing the revolving fund, what I would propose is that we word it. So that first we look at the capital improvement plan, say we determined that by this point, looking at what needs to be replaced down the road, what we're gonna need. Say we need 500,000, we would word it to close or discontinue the capital or the revolving fund. Transfer 500,000, if that's the amount that we determined, into the capital reserve account. And then give the rest back to the taxpayers. Maybe we determine there is no rest, maybe everything that's in there, once we look at the capital improvement plan, needs to go into the capital reserve account. But then in the future, what will happen is right now, the voters have no idea how much money is going into that revolving fund. So we may look at the capital improvement plan and determine that we're supposed to be saving 200,000 or 150,000 a year. But they have, right now, they've just given a blanket, everything that's collected. So this past year, 300,000 is collected. Maybe this year, 400,000 is collected. But if looking at our CIP plan, we only need 200,000 a year, that's too much. So once that account is funded appropriately in an actual amount that we've determined is justifiably needed, it can be spent from any time during the year. So if there was an emergency and they needed to spend from that, they could. Then in the following year, we could go to the voters and say, we had this large unanticipated event happening. We had to spend out of the capital reserve account. Would you replenish that money? Which they could do either through taxation or through unassigned fund balance. So there's another benefit there. If we are operating responsibly and saving money, it really helps save them all the way around. It saves on the operational cost, it ensures we're not overspending, it puts the control back in the voters' hands. To me, as a voter, not as the board of selectmen, it is what I would prefer to see. And it's how I would want my money managed. And that's why I would like to just put the question forth to see if the other voters agree with that. And if they don't, that's fine. Maybe there are voters out there who say, no, I want to keep that revolving fund. I think it's working great. I want them to get the 300,000 a year and save it for a rainy day. I don't mind paying more. But to me, right now, there's no plan, but we have no idea how much money is going into that every year. Where with the capital reserve account, we do, we can plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would suggest that the best way forward would be to have fire department inform us of what their CIP is, right? And what items, equipment they will need to get to fund the same. Talk about ambulance that need to be replaced, other things in the building.
Well, the only thing I have with this, and it's, I understand where you're saying, I mean, I can do what I did to you guys and give John a report every month of what we took in so that he can put it up for people to see, so they know what is coming, and if that's easier for the public. The thing with, I have with is if we keep talking default budget and we go into a default budget next year and you take that account away, we're gonna lay off a lot of people, because I have to pay an ambulance payment next year, that's $79,000, I gotta pay monitor payment, that's $2,200, and then I also have to take a salary out of that revolving fund, so we'll be laying off at least 2 people to keep what we have now, and realistically, we will shut the ambulance down for one day. There's not enough people to staff an ambulance for a full day with per diems or call people, we just won't have enough. It might be me responding by myself on day with nobody having mutual aid ambulance coming if we take the revolving fund away, because if I have to tell the town that we have to raise the budget by 250 almost to keep the ambulance running, when we already have in the revolving fund, I think taxpayers aren't gonna go for 250 plus budget when I already have in the revolving fund that I can just ask you guys, hey, we need 160 this year to maintain operations at what we're at without going extreme.
It is the budget though, that's what keeps happening and we keep
Right.
going to, well, to.
It's
and that-
not, no.
It's going to close, and that's why we keep going to default.
Well, that's where if that's before, we say, okay, we have to hold this amount out of the revolving fund. To these things for 2027, then we lower the home signing operating.
Yes, and I think that we should do that for our budget preparation this year moving forward, and then the voters would be able to see how that works, they'd be able to see the difference in that proposed operating budget when we're using that money that way, but I still think we should put the warrant articles forth as a board, and I'm not saying this to be threatening, I came to the board first, I had already written it as a petition warrant article, but I would like to come to the board, work with the departments, make sure that the article that goes forward adequately meets our needs. I don't want to put something out there that would inadvertently hurt, but I do feel strongly, and I will do a petition for an article if the board does. So, just know that.
I can support capital reserve fund this time without input.
Yeah, and I get that, like too, I wanted to bring it up now so that we have time. I don't want anybody to be surprised by this. I think the fire department needs to know as they're going through their budget prep. I want everybody to know and to get feedback. And I have gotten a lot of feedback from people who would like that format. So to me, it's important that it go forward, but again, I think it would be better for us to do our due diligence and prepare a good warrant article that adequately funds a capital reserve with our questions answered. And everybody knowledgeable about what's happening. I think that's the best way to do it.
John, can I ask an adjacent question? Where are we on the? Yeah. It ends this year.
Capital improvement, that's driven by the planning.
And I do believe that they are working on it this year coming up, but for the fire departments, the fire chief should know what this is very specific with that, yes.
Yeah.
So he should be able to tell us, in 7 years, we're gonna need this ambulance, this is the anticipated cost. These are the air packs we're gonna need or whatever. I know we do have some capital reserve accounts already, so we'll wanna take a look at those and see what they cover. Maybe we split the funding if we, in that warrant article, if we decide to do it, to say, when we discontinue the revolving fund, if the voters are in favor of it, that 60,000 goes to the equipment fund. Then maybe we determine 200,000 needs to go to apparatus and, whatever those capital reserve accounts entail. Maybe there's a capital reserve account you don't have that we need to have. But to me, it's a nice, clear way we're preparing for the future, we can see it, and we're ensuring that we're not keeping too much of the taxpayers' money in any given year. We're just keeping what we need, the taxpayers see how it's being spent, they know, and they can fund it each March, either with unassigned fund balance or with tax dollars, depending on the situation and how they feel about what operations they want.
John, what other revolving funds?
There is.
It's okay.
What
I'm getting at is this thing,
It's a police revolving
Yeah.
fund, there's that cycle.
right,
That just came in.
They're very different though, so those revolving funds are not really large swaths of cash. So I believe that's detail fund when,
It's very similar to the emergency services. Money comes in from details and is paid out through salary. So that one functions very similarly.
It's covered by the same RSA.
but it actually, they're all governed by the same RSA. But her money that's coming in is only to details, and then it is actually dollar for dollar going out to the people that it's owed. It's like a holding, that is not what we're doing with the EMS. It's just like a funneling in and funneling right out.
Yeah.
Same thing with the recycling one, as far as I know, that is. There's an older one that was for equipment, and that was minimal.
For upkeep and
Yeah, and that was like the $5 fees here and
that
there.
was all the fees coming in.
Yeah,
And then the new one took that revenue and is now going in.
to support the recycling
Correct.
operations.
So they can't do both.
Yes. But the idea with that again was as a temporary measure to see how the recycling programs operate, see how much money the town is making on this recycling, how much it's costing, what equipment we need to support being able to buy that. And then once that is up and running, I absolutely recommend that we discontinue that revolving fund as well. I think it's good to use to get the money that we needed to get up and running and see if it's sustainable. And then once we determine it is or isn't, I think that budget should be folded into the operational budget as well. That's my first, I will recommend dissolving that one when the time comes. So,
I know this isn't right, but when you keep asking people in this town to go and do these warrant meetings, warrant article meetings, you know you're not gonna get a lot of attendance. And it seems like it's a punishment for voting for the default. We gotta have faith in the department heads of what they're doing, and if the voters have faith that they can do it, every time you turn around, there's another warrant article that wants to go forward. You know that the people don't really show up for those meetings, and or if they do, and they vote for it, it's like, why vote it off? Like, you have to vote once a year, and then all during the year, you want all these other votes, and I have faith in each department head to what they're doing.
Does anybody else have any questions, any research?
I'm sure. To my understanding, the revolving fund of the fire department is money coming from ambulance transports, therefore, no tax money involved, it's money coming in. Outside source. And our capital reserve fund must fund it with taxpayer money. I think Bose would be in favor of creating a new fund,
It is tax.
taxing.
No, I think you're misunderstanding. That money is taxpayer money. So yes, it's coming in for services performed by EMS. But if it came in like all revenues, like our town clerk registers cars, she doesn't keep all the money from registering cars. It goes into our general fund.
That's money from the revolving fund. That's still the revolving fund, has nothing to do with taxation.
Yes,
Can it be
it
spent?
does.
Town.
No, it doesn't, it doesn't.
It's
Direct taxation.
It's external revenue. If you let the trustees, will explain it,
all of the revenues that this town raises all get taken into consideration when our tax rate is set. So every year, our building permit revenues, revenues from the highway garage, revenues from EMS if they were coming here, revenues from our motor vehicles. And what happens is DRA looks at all the money we've drawn in and how much it's gonna take to run the town. They subtract all those revenues before they determine the tax rate. So it does directly affect your taxes. The money does directly belong to the taxpayers. It does not, none of the money belongs to any department whatsoever. Every dollar the town collects, whether it's through EMS revenues or through taxes, belongs to the taxpayers. It's not any department, and it all affects the tax dollars.
But
There
the
is
source,
no money
the
that's.
source is entirely different.
It's not going on your tax bill, it's getting billed out for the EMS services, but the way that money affects your taxes is different. In the revolving fund, it does not offset your taxes. You're still paying for the full budget of the fire department operations. If it goes into a capital reserve account, then anything extra, more than what we need, would go to lower your tax rate. So you're not saving too much, you're saving just enough. And yes, it does lower your taxes, it is directly related to your tax. Now, Leslie, can I say something?
I think what every taxpayer is really concerned with are these swings, the tax rate. 1 year, your tax bill may be $5,000, the next year it's $7,500. And I know that we've gone through this in this town with giving money back to the taxpayers, and I think most people would like to see something steady as opposed to these high swings. And I think giving money back to the taxpayers, let's say you have a windfall profit year somehow on revolving fund. I'm just not sure that people want to see that again.
It doesn't give money back to the taxpayer. So when you set up a certain amount each year, again, say
It would be the
return-
tax rate that would be adjusted.
but
I know
if
they're not getting a refund.
But if we determine that we needed 200,000, that would be steady every year, so there wouldn't be swings right now.
That's what I would hope.
Right now, you're more likely to see swings in collecting too much money, because you would be setting aside 200,000 that you don't technically need. If the CIP plan says we only need to be saving 200,000 a year, but we're saving 400,000 a year, that's too much. Using a CIP and a capital reserve ensures that we save adequately each year in continuity, so that the money doesn't make any swing in the tax.
So my follow-up question to that
May
is,
answer a little bit of that too, before you go to the follow-up question. In years past, we've used unassigned fund balance to buy down the tax.
yes, we
That's
have.
where you've seen the.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'm concerned about is if there's a catastrophic event that causes substantial damage, let's just say a fire truck goes down and the repairs on it are $200,000. And you don't have that in your capital reserve fund, because your capital reserve funds for the fire department are tremendously underfunded right now for what could potentially happen. Where's that money going to come? But without that revolving fund.
We could fund it, we could take the money that's in the revolving.
No,
fund
I'm saying if it wasn't there, I'm
and put it
talking.
into capital. So that it would, And essentially it'd be the same thing, we'd be moving it into a control account that the voters control, and the voters control the amount that goes in, as opposed to right now where they have no idea each year how much is going in. But it could still meet those.
But if you had
And
a
you can
deficit,
also
let's just say
declare
there was a
an
deficit.
emergency. There's RSA laws, so that if something like that happened, the municipality can declare it an emergency expense and spend from unassigned fund balance. So again, there's mechanisms there, the town would be okay.
So do you know what our current unassigned fund balances are for 24 and 25?
We're still waiting to get back our 25 audit.
25 just started. The unassigned fund balance for 24 was 2.299.
0.3 million.
So.
And is that money sitting in an account collecting 2% interest?
That's sitting in accounts that are collecting the best interest we can through TD.
And it still would if they were in a capital risk,
Yes, because we manage that.
and you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are the collections consistent? It's only been 2.5 years.
So, and I talked to Trish and Chris about this the other day. My opinion as a chief would be is to give it the 3 years, to get out through the 3 years, and then you have great data of just Allenstown data, no one else's input, just Allenstown stuff, right? Like I showed them and I showed you guys in those charts. The last 2 months, we went super down. This month, we're gonna be even lower than we were last month. The ambulance is just not running right. We're doing fire calls. We've taken this swing back to fire calls. Again, is that a bad thing? No, but it's still a lot of calls, right? We are still almost now 70 calls above last year with just 2 guys on. That's a lot for 2 people. And last week, one crew didn't sleep the whole night. They were out. They did 7 calls after midnight or after 11. So they never once EMS calls, and they were just one right after the other. They got back, they started doing their report, they went right back out for another one. So the data I gave you is what's been since we took over to today, which is, like you said, about 1.5 years, right? So if we get another 1.5 years down, we will have 3 years of good numbers of knowing where our billing and revenue comes in and out and where we're gonna be. Right now, we're projecting what we're gonna get, just guessing by what our call numbers are, what our volume is.
It's true.
Exactly. And I mean, right now, we're probably gonna be in our highest year as a fire department in revenue. It's just, we're trending that way. And it's gonna be the highest call volume that Allenstown's ever seen. And as a chief, it's great, but for morale booster down there, when you know, there's only 2 of them on and they're getting beat up, it's a killer once in a while, and you say, hey, guys, got another call coming in. And then, you know, I've been trying to take some with them to help them out and not make it so they're getting it all on their own. But with the revolving fund, and that's why I was trying to give you guys as much information as I could work out in a week and show you guys where everything was coming from, is looking at the budget, even the proposed budget, there's still gaps that we gotta figure out how to fill, because I still have to pay the ambulance, I still have to pay the monitor. So even if you take that away, I still have to add to the proposed budget another 100,000 to it to pay for those 2 items. They have to be paid, or we, one, give the ambulance and the monitor back, and we just use one bad old ambulance. So it's sort of.
So no one's looking at it, but
No,
we're just
no,
trying
I'm just
to
saying.
to the excess.
No, but I'm just saying, if you look at it, I have to add that somewhere, right? And I hate to say it, I understand what she's saying. The default is it could be another year of that. We might be there, but if we are there, then where's that, as a department head, that's why I was asking you, like, where do we fund that 80 or 90 something thousand out of a budget that I'm already struggling to keep staff down
I
there?
think if the voters support the budget, I think they're much more likely to support it when they feel that it's clear and it truly shows all of the costs. You absolutely should be adding that money into the regular operational budget, and it should be explained to the voters. They should understand what they're supporting. And if they go to default, or if they say they don't support the budget, to me, that says they don't want that level of services. I know it sounds scary, but this is their community, this is their money. It's okay for them to say that. If they say, we can't afford this tax bill, we don't need this level of services, then we need to make those adjustments. We need to listen to the taxpayers and spend their money how they want to see it spent, provide the services they do support at the level they support. That's, to me, that's my priority.
Unfortunately, Kathleen, SB two breeds no information to the taxpayer. SB two is the worst thing to ever come down. I was a moderator here in my 20s. I remember the old town meetings. They used to be drag out, knock down fights. But at least the people that came in got the information. The people that come here to vote, and I've sat there in the ballots, you sat there, they have no idea what they're voting on. Because they don't come to deliberative session. How many people went to the public hearing last week for the school? 11 people.
11.
So we can't expect as department heads, as boards, for us to say, oh, well, they have the proper information to make the right decision, because they don't, Kathleen, let's be honest. They don't know what they're looking at when they go in there all mad because they're looking at the tax bill going, oh. If you go to Suncook Pond, if you go to Hillsborough, go ask them. If they don't care, we don't care if we have an ambulance or not. They haul them out of there like you read about. So how can we go to the elderly folk, the sick, and the person that got hit on Deerfield Road last week and say, well, we don't care about you. It is what the voters think. It's our responsibility as heads of departments and boards to make those decisions, because that's what we were voted in for, not to throw it back on to the voters. That's not the proper way for us to do business. You don't throw the decisions on voters unless they have 100% of the information. You just don't do that. And SB two.
That's why we moved the budget process earlier.
Right, to try to get out there.
We can take a look at it and find out.
Right. It's our responsibility as boards. We can't throw that on the tax, but you can't. People are busy. People are trying to work 2 and 3 jobs to keep their head above water. They expect us to make the right decisions for them. Period.
If
It's as
that's
simple.
how they feel, then they can vote to keep the.
But they don't come and vote, Kathleen. That's the issue. They don't come and vote. They'll go there, they'll piss and moan, pardon my French, and they won't come and vote. They just won't. That's the way it's been. Look at the voter turnout. I've looked at it. I look at it through warrant articles and everything. And when we do our presentation here, I think the eyes of the new board members are going to open up. I've done I spent tens of hundreds of hours doing this. And I think
Years, people have been paying more attention and they have been participating in greater numbers. Our deliberative session for the past 2 years was up over 100, which was unheard of.
But how many voters do we have, Kathleen? How many? Over 2,800 voters. That's 1%, maybe, not even 10%, maybe 10% of the voters that come out. And there's close to 5,000 people in the town. So you have to look at it the perspective of how much information is getting out there. That's the problem. If we could go out and bang on everybody's door and say, hey, you know.
We have about, I wanna say, 2,500 registered voters, and to get 500 to come out for a local election, isn't that bad of a turnout? It's very commensurate with other towns in New Hampshire. I understand what you're saying, but I just disagree. I feel that our form of democracy, the voters should have a say. Again, this is their money, and they should be allowed.
But they need to have the information to make a proper decision.
To PSB too, I pushed to put a warrant.
Is the board gonna put in an article to try to turn that back this year?
We did the year prior and it did not happen.
I would urge the board to keep doing it.
Yep.
Keep doing it. Because if you've gotta go to town meeting, you have to get the information. You
I
have to.
agree, I would rather people be more informed when they're making those decisions.
Because I've heard people come through the ballot line. I've been a ballot clerk for years. You know that. Oh, well, what's this all about? Oh, geez, there's a lot of things here. Chris has sat there too. It's like, really? So, I mean, we need to take a real careful approach on this.
Yeah, I will say that those towns that have fought to try to go back to town meeting, remain an SB2 town, they end up putting out umpteen more.
Yeah.
Because they want their voters to be informed. And they realize in the end that staying SB2, that's how they have to vote.
And most of them do it through warrant articles to just fund capital reserves. That's how Deerfield did it for how many years? I think this is the first year they got out of default, didn't it?
About for everything.
Yeah.
Just
Salaries.
But the SB two towns, that's the only way they fund. Deerfield's been doing, I think this is the first year they got out of default. That's how they've been funding their roads, their fire departments. That's the only way they've been able to fund it. Otherwise, that town would have been belly up a long time ago. They're in trouble. Trust us, there's a lot of us here that have been around a while. I've been watching this. I'm gonna be 70 years old next year. I'm no spring chicken. I mean, I was in this town when I was a kid.
So, just
But
to come
anyway.
back,
Just anyway.
I think there was maybe a consensus that we would like the fire chief to come back with capital improvement plan information. You know, yes, needs for salary, but you know, like, what would he want to have that revolving fund money used? As well as, you know, just this year, you know, informing that.
Yeah,
It
I
could
would
be
like
salary
I'd
line.
like to see CIP plan and see how he would utilize it in his proposed budget for this year. We've never seen it as part of the proposed budget. It's just sat on the side, only to be used for the very limited equipment purchases that we had voted to use that fund for, and then only was it brought forward to us to use after we went to default. My concern, my real goal and hope is that we can pass a budget. I really think it's important to break this cycle and to be able to grow and to gain trust with the voters. And I think this is a pivotal step towards doing.
Can I just make one final comment? First, Ron, you said something about information. I think there is information getting out there. Unfortunately, a lot of it is opinion.
Yeah.
So it might not be the real information, it's how people perceive things. They've got to start coming to these meetings and
I
seeing
agree.
it firsthand
Yeah.
and hearing what we're going through. Secondly, I would personally want to thank Chief Sattarelli for taking the time, sitting down with me the other night. It was a lot of information and it really gave me a lot of great insight. He showed me a lot of the equipment, what coming down the road, what might need to be replaced down the road, things like that. So for you, John, I would highly recommend if you have time to go and sit with the chief, just to kind of get an inside look as to what they're dealing with and stuff like that. So that you can understand it like Trish and I have. And I don't know if you've had the opportunity to Kathleen or that even, but it's really eye-opening to see what they've got coming down. So I highly recommend that. And John, thank you very much for taking that time. That means a lot. Appreciate it. That's all I-
So I know Kathleen and I expressed that we'd like that information from John. I think we need more of, you know, I don't think we need a motion on it, but a consensus from
Yeah.
the board. We are asking fire chief to give us that information.
Okay. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, the trustees of the trust funds.
And this is gonna bounce off real good from what we just talked about. I think I'm being very serious. So I have a statement I'm gonna read. I would ask you to wait to ask questions till I'm done. John has a copy of this digitally. I would like it placed into the minutes. This is the beginning of communication. The taxpayers and everybody up in the town. So I'll start. Any of the trustees behind me, you can throw a pen at me if you want to add. Trustee of trust funds is requested the following points: clarification and information be written into the public record of this meeting, which will probably be provided and sent to John. Based on the chair's attendance at the last board meeting on June 15th and social media information that's been communicated, the trustees of trust funds would like to clarify differences between trust funds, our stuff, revolving funds, and currently the town currently has status now. Under RSA 35, and I sent that to Trish because you had asked me for that. The capital reserve funds are the town's accounts for major non-reoccurring capital expenses. For construction, reconstruction, acquisition of a specific capital improvement, or acquisition of a specific item or specific items of equipment. construction, reconstruction, or acquisition of a type of capital improvement or the acquisition of a type of equipment. Reappraisal by appraisers, the acquisition of land, extraordinary legal fees and expenses related to present or future foreseen litigation, and municipal and regional transportation improvement projects. This is the only thing we can approve. Now, just to give you a background, we report to the Department of Justice, Charitable Trust Division, we report to no one else. So this is very, very clear on what our roles and responsibilities. So next, if you look at 31:19A, which is trust funds created by town, which also known as expendable trust fund. Those town funds are trust funds for the maintenance and operation of the town, maintaining health insurance funds for the benefit of employees and retired employees of any town, payment of health claims or health insurance premiums for the benefit of any employee and retired employees of the town. That's the only thing you can use. 31:19A. Capital reserve funds and trust funds created under RSA 35:1 and RSA 31:19-A are funded strictly by appropriation voted on by the legislative body, town meeting or official ballot. This cash comes from general taxation or unassigned fund balance slash in the year-end surplus or the year-end surplus. That's what our marketing orders are. Next, we need to talk about, there's one other side gig to the trust fund. They can be funded through acceptance of privately donated gifts. So if you know any rich people, come see us. Because like any legacies and device can be funneled directly into these trust funds. Currently, Allen's Fund does not have any of those privately donated. Again, if you know somebody, come see us. We take them. So we're gonna get to the revolving funds, which fall into the selectmen's and department heads area. They're under the custody of the town treasurer with the authority to expend resting with the board of selectmen, the two folks. Or other boards or commissions as designated by the statutory guidelines. You can use it for recycling and solid waste tracking, ambulance fire services, special detail, public safety services like we talked about, the police department, affordable housing initiatives, cable pay access channels, probably if you want to have a channel here, clean energy slash net metering districts. That is it for revolving funds. Revolving funds are funded by fees, charges, or other income derived directly from the activities supported by the fund. For example, building, police detail, recreation, which is under 35B. These funds do not require an annual tax appropriation. This comes right from the RSA.
I didn't disagree.
So public recreation and parks is 35B. That's a little bit different. You can use general taxation for that as well, but fees, charges levied for recreation park services or facilities. Actually, some of the towns use up their parking meter. You wonder why you go to some of these places and for some of the beaches and you're paying, $2 an hour, $3 an hour, $30 for your fees. They can be used for that. So these are the types of things, and that's where the delineation line goes for us. You have to come for us to get those approved. I've got some changes that we're going to be making to our policies and procedures because of some inadequacies that we found, and I'm going to kind of bring these to you right now. Currently, we request disbursements from a fund, and the requester must give us minutes from the board or commission, like the select board, where they requested the disbursement and you approve it. And then written request outlining the disbursement signed by a majority of the board of commissions with evidence to support those amounts. And the statement says vouchers, they clarify vouchers as your invoices, minutes of the meeting, etc. Unfortunately, we're coming up with an updated procedure requiring that in addition to the above, because we missed this for a lot of years, all the trustee boards have missed this. The requester, town, school, library must provide a copy of the warrant article that established the original or subsequently modified fund, showing the approval of either town meeting minutes or SB2 ballot verified by town clerk. This will enable the trustees to properly verify that the expenditure meets the language and purpose of the funding article. The trustees will be developing a procedural document defining the requirements. Once it is complete, it will be communicated to the town boards and commissions as applicable. Once implemented, requests for reimbursement from any funds not meeting all the requirements will not be accepted for processing by the trustees and will be returned to the requested for correction. That is a big one that we've missed. So currently, some of the issues we've identified, I've talked with John about this because he has some stuff that can help us take care of this. Issues with obtaining certified ballot results. Records are incomplete, they're scattered. You have that database that you have given, I've kept it up. I've looked through some of it and there's a lot of stuff that's missing. So we have to find some of the warrant articles that aren't able to be found. Currently, we have issues with proper verification of the warrant articles, and it's just what I talked about as written. Compared to the naming conventions in the TD Wealth financial report and dates of approval required by the state of New Hampshire trustees, and it's not. We were supposed to be putting down the actual dates that these were established. They have been good to us. They said, well, when you can, transition, get this information in.
Copy that's cheap, John.
It should all be in here.
The spreadsheet doesn't have the dates, so you got to pull the date directly from the warrant article. Spreadsheet.
Yeah, there should be scanned copies, you
Yeah.
can get scanned copies, so at the time that I made the spreadsheet, I also went back to every town report.
Yeah, I have them all.
24,
I have
and I
them,
scanned
I have them
every,
back to 1957.
yeah,
I have-
I went all the way back to the 1920s.
Yeah, I had-
And there were some gaps in years, but for the most.
But I have the 57, and the problem is some of these don't have back after SB2, we don't have the ballots. I have everything you sent, because you gave it to me.
Yeah.
I have it all. It needs to be improved so that we can get this process moving forward for you. Because here's something we ran into the other day, and this is beyond this, but I'll tell you what happened. John sent us a request for the PD, the furnace, for $14,000. It said he wanted to take it out of the town building and maintenance fund. So I started looking through it, I found it in the spreadsheet. I go look, and I look into it, and I look at Article 19, I go down, and in our spreadsheet, on TD Wealth said, town building and maintenance, I go down. I look at it, this article was amended at town meeting, whenever they did this. To say that it's to be known as a town safety fund for the purpose of addressing safety issues pertaining to town buildings and employees. Which is totally off of what was put, of what was put on in the database. So here we go, what do we do now? The trustees, this is probably the longest conversation we've ever had about approving something, we went back and forth. But because I was informed that there was some wiring that burned up, okay, well, now this is a safety issue. So here's the issues that we run into, and where the accuracy has to be taken care of ASAP. So we did approve it, but the town could have potentially had to find that 14,000 elsewhere. So.
And that's because of how that warrant article was written.
And it's apparently when it was put into the system, and I don't know how long they've had TD Wealth, I think it was before, when you asked me to run, I think we were at TD Wealth, I started in 23, this is my second term. Rich was there for a long period of time, I don't think that we've ever, kind of audited this list. The unfortunate part of this is, we are our own auditors. The town auditors would have never picked this up. Under RSA, we're responsible. Bookkeeper and the board for making sure we're doing things right. So with that being said, this data needs to be taken care of as quickly as possible. So the board is going to be moving forward. There's new things coming. We're going to be changing from TD Wealth to 3 various fiduciary advisors in Hampton in the coming months. In previous stated issues regarding the warrant article naming conventions, we need to correct these to allow this process to move forward in a timely and efficient manner. We tried to do this several years ago, but we come to find out, we looked at how much we would have had to digest. It would have cost the town $250,000 in lost funds. So we put that off. At that point in time, we moved the funds into sweep funds as the bonds matured, we moved them over to the sweep funds. So we were getting that 3.5%, 4 or 5%. We're at the point now where we can flip. The research we did, Town Hooksett uses 3 bearings, Summersworth uses 3 bearings, there's a bunch of them that use them, they're right here in Hampton, And our financial people are right here, Fidelity, that we'll be using. We have to talk to somebody in Maine, and all the stuff has to be sent down to the Carolinas for processing, so that's coming. So I'll work with John, the board will work with John to try to get all this information taken care of. And it's gonna be within the next several months, and there's gonna be a point in time where we're going to have to stop doing any fund requests or bringing in any money because of that transition period. So they take some doing to do that.
Is that months?
I don't know, I have to get a hold of them to say, I suspect based on when we've tried to go to PEIP, the way TD Bank does it now is they take the total fund amount and they divide it up by percentage, you know. This one has 10%, this one has 5%, sewer department, I think you've been down there, they have like 33%. So that's how they did the expenditures. The new one, I believe what they do is you have to create independent accounts for every single capital reserve. That's the way PEIP, and I believe that's probably the way it's gonna end up going. So just to give you an idea of what's coming. Just the current state of the funds. In 2023, right before, we had $4,069,210. 24, $5,129,907. 25, $5,440,511. As of May 26, $5,509,206. We're starting to see a decline. With the current projects, we've done hall renovations, highway department facility, current school projects. The potential exists to see a reduction in that fund balance by approximately 10% or more this year. So we reviewed the current fund balances, what we have, and I've attached that to this. And we've identified some of these accounts that really need to be bolstered in the next
Yeah,
calendar
we haven't funded
year.
that for a couple of years.
It's been quite a few years, I think, and we're looking at this like, for
We
instance,
plan on funding that.
police department equipment, that's $5,514 left. We have, fire department, equipment is $5,894, you won't even buy a suction hose for a fire truck for that kind of money. So these are underfunded, you're gonna need more money for the new municipal building, as well as the highway department garage. Because what's happening here is we're starting to see an economy spike, so the longer it takes us to put these things together, put these up, the more it's gonna cost us on the back end. So we've looked at these and I just kind of highlighted it so you can see where we need to take care of this.
Could you send those balances to the
Yeah,
board?
yeah.
Well,
John has them on in this,
Okay.
and he gets them every month. We look at this stuff by the month, we look at the bank statement by the month. And we felt that it's time that these boards start working together, because it's in their best interest. So anyway, so for information transparency, the board is going to be working to enhance our trustee website. The intent is to add links to the state RSAs pertaining to the funds, guidance documents for the public and board as required, and includes direction to the public for contacting the trustees with any questions or information. We want two people to come to us, including the department head. We're the governing board, we're the ones that keep track of this. People shouldn't have to keep track of that. We work with John. Come to us, because that's what we're here for. So as far as social media, again, we set forth we look at the NHMA webinar, there's a webinar entitled Do's and Don'ts of Social Media, along with any other information that may come from time to time. We will inform the guides, inform us and guide us how we use social media. I don't particularly do that. And we're going to look at the town social media policy, even though it goes to the employees, we are still under the town venue, and we feel that that's what we need to do. Again, our appearance on oath of office, we're very, very committed, and basically, by impartially discharging and performing the duties to the best of our ability to these rules, regulations, laws, and to the Constitution of the state of New Hampshire. That's what we live by on this board, and nothing less. So, further down the line, the trustees will be meeting with the budget committee in the near future. As the budget season nears, to help inform, educate the new and current members on our roles and responsibilities as trustees. And the use of capital reserve funds, revolving funds, there's a couple of non-capital reserve funds, which the sewer department used this year for the first time we've ever had for maintenance of their big equipment down there, so it's facilities meetings, and they use that this year. So with that, will be available to meet with any boards, commissions, committees, whoever it is. To sit down and say, hey, this is how we do business, and this is how the best meets the town, we feel, based on what, our job is as the trustees. As we transition to the new wealth management firms, we would like to work in conjunction with the Board of Selectmen, Budget Committee, Department Heads, and other town boards to obtain input as we move forward with future investment planning. It would be good for us to know, okay, we're gonna need a new whatever, it's in 5 months or 6 months or 6 years. We can plan our investments based on the needs moving forward. We have a lot of flexibility that it's going to be coming to us that we didn't have in PUL because of their distance to us. I think it's gonna help us to make the best money we can out of those funds that we have. We're responsible for $5.4 million that sits in our lap. So it's important that we look at that and we get input as to where things are going, so we can make the proper investments. In the past, trustees have operated in the background, okay, silently performing our duties. Jackie didn't even know, she said, you guys need trustee trust fund? What's that?
Well, I think when you do that page,
Yeah,
the first thing should be an overview of what they.
of what we do, and that's exactly,
Yes, 50 people. What-
they don't know,
I bet.
they don't know who we are.
20 people would-
We have custody of more money than what's in your town budget. So I think it's important that people know. So again, we've been soundly performing our duties. So due to the higher level of activity and the challenges of the current economy, it is our goal to educate, inform, and assist. That's where we're at. So any questions? Concerns?
Sure.
Ladies? My ladies?
They can beat you
I
up.
was supposed to stand up
There
and
will-
do
there
more.
will- You know what? We have a-
Thank you for all that work.
We have a good cohesive board. And I plan on speaking with you in the future as you put the warrant articles. I've got a sneaky feeling somebody has warrant articles for next year. I would be more than happy to sit down and look at it, see what we're doing.
Especially where we're under.
Yeah,
In those
with
areas.
2.3, we can do a lot. Just think of putting another million or $1.5 million into those funds, what that's gonna generate down the line. If we can generate 3 or 4%. Moving forward, it's good for everybody. Where we're at,
Thank you, Sharon, for your friend, information.
And then we will move on to the next item on the agenda, the fire department position, the Chief John Sazero.
we'll leave it out for you.
Yeah. That's literally the hot seat.
One quick thing before we report, I just wanna make sure I'm getting you guys wanted the CIP stuff. I didn't, right? I
Yes,
wanna
they
make
have
sure.
one movement
Okay,
plan, so
perfect.
your
I was like,
replacement
We
schedule.
talked about so many things, I'm like, I'm not sure what they're looking for right now, so I wanna make sure I wrote down that. And you guys want it before the next meeting, or like, I'm on vacation next week, so I'm trying to see if I have to do it before I leave,
I don't think
or.
it's really an emergency,
Okay.
my point is that I wanted to get this ball rolling discussion out here now, so we have time, I don't want anything to be an emergency.
Okay.
If it needs to wait till the following meeting, I'm fine with that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, I didn't wanna have this sit there in
Yeah,
front of me.
let it ruin
Okay.
your vacation, yes,
I'll make sure.
enjoy your time off.
Alright, perfect. Okay, and the thing I came before, I'd like to post the position that was vacant by a retired person, so I'd like to post for an officer's position. Would like to post it for 2 weeks and see what we get in, and then my intent would be is the interview process after that and see if we get any good candidates before we decide where we go and need your guidance.
That's a full-time
It
position,
is still time.
how many full-time people do you have right now?
Right now, we're down one, because of the one that retired.
Okay, so it was gonna be with you coming in as a full-time chief, we're down,
We're still down one, we're still
you're
down.
gonna
one.
be to
Yeah.
5, so
Yeah.
now you're down to only 4.
No, we have 5 still, we should have, right, me, well, me, Hugo, Rondo, Rob. Awesome, so we're down to 1, yeah, so we should have a total of 6 full timers, right now we're at 5.
My understanding was that there was 6, and maybe that I misunderstood this. I thought there were 6 full-timers and a part-time chief. So we were told by switching to the full-time chief, we were not gonna be refilling, you were coming as a chief, but holding your
But we-
previous
we-
position, so it would be still only 6 full-time, right?
So we're not on that.
Oh, yes.
That's what I'm saying. 6-1 is the one that
That retired.
exists.
Oh,
Yes, the recent, yes. So I wanna be able to post that, but I wanted to make sure you guys were okay with it before I sent it and we post it, so that's all I was trying to make sure you guys post it.
If your budget's okay for it,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a needed.
Yeah, no, it's fine, I just wanted to free you guys first before we decide.
Budget.
Sound good?
Alright, that's all I have.
Good luck, hopefully you find somebody good and qualified. All right, and we will move on to the next item on the agenda, the 2027 Selectmen budget presentation schedule. Are you have something in our folders for that?
I did. So based on that request, I put together this draft schedule. I did add an extra meeting, start 1 week earlier in order to accommodate the number of budgets we have and not overload any one meeting. You'll see I started with the police and fire department, the 2 of the bigger budgets right away. Based on some of your comments, let's find out how much we have to spend already before we get into the rest of the budget. And then the second meeting, we have the third highest budget, which is highway. And you'll see on October 10th, 5th, and 19th, there's quite a few budgets wrapped into those meetings. Many of those budgets are 1 and 2 lines, they're not very big. And they can be covered adequately in a meeting. If you feel that's too close, then we would start a week. And I started September 21st, ending on October 19th. If you flip the page, you'll see the proposed NBC budget. Meetings start November 7th this year.
I think that gives us good time to give feedback to the departments for them to make any changes we might request or, to send a good solid result to the NBC so that when they're getting that budget, yeah, it's been gone.
Yeah, and they did ask that we revert to the select board making the recommendation or anything over.
It was a bit awkward having the joint meetings
Yeah,
to give you an opportunity to make that vote. I tried
yeah,
2 years to get you to separate out and make a vote for the budget committee, but it never quite
yeah.
worked well. So this will allow you to send a solid budget to the budget committee. Still meeting jointly, but you'll have already prepared. Correct.
If we stick to this,
Access, what we.
yeah, and if we stick to this schedule, our last presentation is the 19th. Even if we have recommendations, changes we wanna see, we can get back to some of these budgets and say, no, we'd like you to, change this or do that. And they come to the following meeting. We still get it to them before their November 7th meeting.
Yeah.
You'll have one more scheduled meeting
Yeah.
on November 2nd to do any cleanup last minute.
Yeah.
So if you're good with this, then I will let all the applicants know.
I like it.
Yeah.
And do we wanna give address, what we as a board are looking for?
Yeah, I'm just gonna get into that a little bit. So one of the things that, Ron brought to light in his presentation and I've been thinking about are those underfunded lines. And what warrant articles we need to be writing this year and make sure that we're addressing those. So that would be something I want to be part of the states.
The capital funding or capital reserve.
Yes.
And John?
There's some people that did a great job on the budget last year, other people didn't do quite that. In my opinion, but I think that we should give direction that, it should be. Look at the numbers in use the default budget that we have now as a starting
So you want them to try to come in at default?
at default. Again, we don't know
We're
how
not
much.
optimistic budget, and I agree with you. I
We don't know how much, there's two big things that I can think of, and that's. The town up with transfer station, which wasn't in last year's budget, but will be in this year's budget, I would think.
I
So-
don't know if that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah,
The warrant article only funds this year, so if the program that has started is currently operating by Chad. If the board wants to continue that,
It would need to be in the
it
proposed
would need to
budget
be in the proposed budget for 27.
or
Or another one.
Or
and
another
another ones, so.
funding period a year.
Yeah, which is the cycle we're stuck in now, so if our proposed
I-
budget does
part-
pass,
You know.
it's much easier.
Included in the budget.
Another,
If he come up with a solid, if Jackson come up with a solid number of what it's gonna cost. I think we had, what, $150,000 for
that was this year.
9 months.
But I think he thought he was gonna come under, so that'll be good, and we can certainly put it in the proposed budget, but I'm thinking we might want to do both, because if that proposed budget
I
doesn't
agree.
pass, we go
I was just
down.
gonna say, that is always an option, you write a warrant article to say if the budget passes. And this warrant article passes, the warrant article will not be funded. It's kind of
Yes.
back.
Yeah, that way we ensure we have it done, because if we have one done, put it in the hall.
You keep
Come back, no.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
A financial director, finance director,
I wanna.
and that would have to be either as a warrant article or included in John's.
That being a position, you'd probably want to put it in the budget.
In the budget.
And it already is in the budget,
It is,
technically.
you just need to
Would just
enhance the funding.
take it away from MRI and
Yeah,
Well, even with the MRI being funded out of the finance director's line.
but it would be really, we wanna think about that to give John a little direction if we want full-time or part-time. I'm hugely in favor of a full-time, but I understand again, we wanna pass this budget, wants versus needs. When the current MRI finance person came and spoke to us, it was his personal recommendation, he felt that we could do with a part-time and a full-time clerk, so. To me, maybe we start there to try to get the budget passed, see if we can hire a part-time person. If there's interest, if we're capable of filling the position that way, and then if we're not, maybe we have to look at full-time. Or I guess, those are just my ideas from throwing it.
Well, and I think we do need
and
to
are
look
the
at,
candidates filled.
Yes.
yes, and we need to look at the dollars that we spend. Versus what the dollars we.
When he spoke with us for the 12, we could have somebody for 20 hours a week, or what we're paying for 12 hours a week, yes, through MR, so that, yeah, like it's not efficient, but what we need was that team of professionals and that level of expertise, because our audits are so far behind. So we really had to use somebody with that skill set. We needed MRI as an organization behind us. Now that we have our audits done, we don't. We can actually hire somebody that is competent and good and able to handle the job and get 20 hours a week. And
And
20 hours.
it's the municipal budgets.
Yes, that is definitely, do not, this town has tried to hire people as finance directors without municipal experience, I would not recommend going that route. But another huge thing that I think would be really helpful is when we hire them, making attending the meetings part of their job. Debbie Bender, we had attended the budget committee meetings, she attended the board of selectmen, she's helpful. The deliberative, she was at all of the meetings, so when people had those questions, she was able right then and there to say, this is the answer to your finance question, this is how that account works, and she was right there in real time, it was, and it's, to me, worth its weight in gold just to have that, when we're making those big decisions. Dealing with a $5 million budget, it's not huge, but it's big, I would run a business, I would run a $5 million company without a finance professional. We should have that.
Debbie was.
She was really good, but she's not, there are many great qualified finance directors out there, we just, I don't wanna say chosen in a way we've chosen. When our audits fell so far behind, we had to hire MRI, we had to focus on the audits. It was a choice of necessity. Like we realized we were in hot water, we needed to focus every dollar we had towards rectifying that issue. But now that we've gotten there, now that we've gotten those audits done and we're back on solid ground, now it's time, I think it's pivotal time that we get somebody qualified in that position to prevent us from ever being in that situation again. And it's hugely instrumental in good decision.
2025 budget, audit should be done.
The on-site work was completed in 3 days. Now it's a matter of putting all the reports together. Earliest would be late fall, winter. Latest probably in the spring.
We'll
And
have,
that's not unusual.
but we could fund capital reserve funds, because last year we did.
Correct. I think we could, because the 2024 audit is done, we have a solid number right up to that's the number I gave you
Yes.
earlier.
Yeah.
I would feel comfortable
Fund.
using that as a basis for making.
I would too.
Decisions.
Not see us go another year without funding those work.
Like I said, if we have an earlier in the 25 audit looks like, better for us to make better decisions, but we have the 24.
John, but this is minor, but you don't have a lot of listed here.
Thank you. No, that's
So, you know, John, but you and I are kind of thinking on the same line, guidance to the department head, right, this process. If anybody else has that, some suggestions or ideas on that, I think that what we should do is putting together a list of what that could be. Maybe next meeting, we decide what the final guidance is to the department.
Well, I
So
think
that
we
John has
for
that.
them to come in at default, to aim for default. And we're gonna do the capital reserve accounts.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else, but I think that's, but we can certainly at the next meeting, but I think that's a good start. And one other thing I would say, is this gets asked by the public at deliberative every year. And at budget committee meetings all the time. They're always looking for a breakdown of salaries and personnel costs by department. We have the one line that is the town as a whole, so I would ask that each department also. Their salary, benefit cost, retirement, everything that their department is generating, so that you can see it by department, not just.
I've already talked to Scott about that. That's we're gonna be preparing your budget this year.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that would be, it's just, it's a hot, it's been
that in the past.
It's been asked over and over and over, but since we haven't had, I think Debbie used to be able, and even Debbie, it was tough for her on the spur to dig that out. But if people went to her, she could get them that information, not right in a meeting, you know, spur of the moment.
Right.
But doing it this way would be, I think would be really helpful.
Hey, John, can we move the fire department in the police department, the retirement in their health benefits out of your area into each individual department?
We already talked about that. That's gonna come out this week.
Okay. You know, it's not gonna change the total budget, it's just gonna.
Yeah, but just be just like.
It should be,
And when you're making.
you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
When you're making studies.
It is.
Right.
What?
Make it easier for us.
Now,
To be honest with you, I was gonna have numbers on.
the only caveat with that is
If
budget has
so,
to pass.
it's less than the first back, so then.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can make all these
You
changes.
need that for SB 245. You need that info for SB 245.
It's spent less than
That's just, I found it.
Yeah, change. But yes, I have salary, health, and retirement going into individual departments.
I have a question. Does the board have a plan for employee retention? In this environment, with the last inflation coming out at 4.5%, what's the plan to try to keep employees? What incentives have you come up with? Or have you thought about it?
Well, we did adopt a Juneteenth holiday, that wasn't,
Yeah.
I got a mixed reaction, but part of, when the wage classification study was done through MRI, they did not look at the positions to verify if they were needed. They did not come in and say, you have 6 people, or state police prosecutors, since that has been used as an example. They did not come in and say, you need the workload you have warrants having this full-time position. They just came in and looked at the salary compared to neighboring towns. So it had nothing to do with the workload, the validity of the position existing, the specific duties that were tied to that position. They just looked at the title, they looked at other neighboring towns that had jobs of that title, to measure it, and then did a salary comparison from there. Then they made their recommendations. We were doing well. We were a little bit behind, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. We were able to get up to a good middle ground. We weren't on the high side, but we weren't behind. Over the last year, so all the departments more or less have only missed a raise for 1 year, because the first year, half of them were awarded raises, most of them were given their raises. Now, this year, we brought the town hall staff up, they're still a little behind because they missed the earning power of all that money, but at least they're there. So we're only about 1 year behind right now. That's another part of my huge hope that we can get an actual budget to pass. Again, where I feel it's instrumental. I know people disagree with me, but I think a combination of using the capital reserve accounts, not the revolving funds, so not saving too much money, being very transparent, making these changes to this budget preparation and schedule, getting a finance director. If we can really advocate for the money that we are putting in our proposed budget this year and show that it is verifiably needed, we have gone through and it is transparent. Hopefully we can pass a budget, because we do need to be, I believe the employees need those raises. We do need to be able to increase our budgets, and right now I just don't feel that there is any trust from the taxpayers where they're gonna say they're willing to give us any more of their money.
We only missed it by 38 votes last year.
That's it, that's a lot.
We missed it by 38 votes. 38 votes was the swing to go to fall. So we're getting close.
We are, and
Yeah, I think if we base a budget, you know.
We have not increased our transparency, that it'll go back.
yes.
Right.
We will be able to do that.
But again, my whole point was, how do we keep our employees from running off? Because I'll give you an example.
Better, you know, I believe in merit raises.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to look around you too. Now, the city of Nashua, for instance, my son's been a police officer for 22 years. He says, Nashua's starting people off the street at $90,000 a year. Granted, that's not Allenstown, but you look at so now what has to happen is, well, you know, you get these smaller departments, people start jumping, so you get that checkering effect. So how do we give them eye care? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying about of maybe giving them music. Eye
Can't
care.
give any more holidays because they have.
Well, yeah.
Just wait. Say to the other towns who have been historically over the past number of years, you know, in recent years, been showing appreciation to their employees and have gone to default, they had to reduce how they can show appreciation to their.
But then
So-
leave. That's the
I
problem.
don't know, this year, we can add something in, I mean, if we did, I would.
Maybe a little bit better dental, just to show kind of like we care about you.
Done all the insurances, when we made the change to this new insurance company, they had a slew of optional ones, but the employees would have to pay for them. I believe was the understanding, but they did have all types of pet insurance, they had every type of additional insurance under the sun if our employees were interested. We had talked about expanding that coverage, we did the additional holiday last year. Really, I think our focus right now needs to be on trying to get a responsible budget passed by the voters, so we can clean up those budget lines. So we really know where we are, and then we can give those raises. Don't forget, we have an added benefit here, and I know it's not. Police and fire specifically don't always benefit from this, highway does only for half the year, but having a 4-day work week, having that Friday off is huge. That is a huge benefit in itself. Over the years that I've worked here, when I was here, exactly, there were many employees who, when they didn't get raises or if things weren't going their way, they would literally say, I would quit, except for the 4-day work week. It keeps up, so I do believe the employees deserve raises, but they have a slew of benefits. There are things that the town is doing that I think are working in our favor and helping us with our employee retention. Could it get worse? Absolutely. We keep going to default for 3 years and employees stop getting raises, they go 3 years without a raise, and like you said, their electric bill has doubled, their gas bill has doubled, yeah, they're gonna quit in droves. And then it's gonna cost us more to advertise the positions, to hire new people who don't know what they're doing, to go through the training cycle. We're gonna spend way more than we would have spent had we just given those qualified, experienced ways of raise to begin with. But unfortunately, that's a cycle that I think, again, the voters will control, that is up to them. It's their tax dollars at the end of the day. If they don't wanna see this money, the budget that we present, if they don't think it's responsible, if they don't agree with what's included in it, they're not gonna pass it. So that is why it is so imperative that we present a budget to them that they understand and that they can support, or we're gonna stay here.
I mean, I would say to that possibly we could look at some small, right?
Yeah.
I think anything would be better than not.
I'm gonna do some digging with
Maybe,
at DRA and the DOJ's, because I'm gonna see here under 3119A. Again, the provisions for establishing, for maintaining health insurance funds for the benefit of employees and retired employees. There may be an opportunity there to funnel some money. I have contacts at DRA and up the DOJ's office. I'm going to ask them to see if you can create an expendable trust fund to help to fund that, and what the actual, because some of this stuff you've got to call them, because one of the things that DRA said, we won't tell you you've made a mistake until we look at it after we look at your budget at the end of the year, then you got to put the money back. So I think to ask the question before is better than to, because I think maybe,
Hearing to do that research, that is very helpful.
well, we do already have one. We already have one. So can we add more money to it for that purpose?
Can I ask just one question real quick? It's not to say they don't work hard in this office. I'm not saying that at all, or the highway guys. They definitely do a hell of a job to get things done. But is there a way, and not to make us, the fire department or the police feel entitled to, but to give us an extra floating holiday or something for the year? Like you guys get, like this week, right? You guys get Thursday, Friday, you get a 4-day weekend.
I thought it's policy would be.
In June 19th.
And June 9th, like those extra holidays where you get a 4-day week, we don't get, as fire department, we get a holiday for that, but the guys that are working don't get really a holiday except for the pay. Give us an extra day that if we wanted to take a day off, give us an extra time
Our
off.
policy would be addressing. There's that. Location where.
I thought it did too, but you talked about that at the time.
Yeah, I know when I was came here. that was-
Addressing what?
That floating holiday for a day
I
where
read it.
they
I did.
were, like when the rest of the departments had it off,
So
right?
they could not use, like, say Juneteenth, like we used to do it for Christmas, each department would pick like how they wanted to do Christmas Eve, technically.
I've seen it,
work
I'll
in,
read the
but-
policy, yeah, I didn't see it in the policy, that's not saying it's not there, I'll read it again and see.
Yeah,
Because some of my guys might be more off to say, instead of paying me for Juneteenth, I
Yes.
take them over. I'll look at the policy, I might just look at it, didn't see it, but I'll double check.
yeah,
If it's not there, I'd be willing to
That's
add and pay a proposal.
Okay.
me too, but I don't want to.
I'm not.
I'm gonna say something.
Yes.
The town budget is a little over $5 million. The biggest budget in this town is that school, the school board. And believe it or not, you get more people at your meetings than people that are dealing with the budget 3 times. There needs to be encouragement for people to go to that process and see what's in there. I know this, they tried to pare down the number of SAUs because there are a lot of superintendents in this state of school pulling down well over six figures plus benefits that we all contribute to, say, U53 up there. So anytime you can encourage people to go to those school board meetings, send them down because they need some input and involvement.
I agree, Cheryl. And I do think the taxpayers are aware. A lot of times I hear comments from people that they get it, that the town is only a third of our overall tax budget. The school is 2/3. So hopefully we will see more involvement, more people, like I said, over the past 2 years, I think I've seen a real awakening. I've seen a lot more people paying attention and getting active, even as far as just reading minutes or watching you know,
They don't go to the
Meetings.
school board meetings.
do they report the school board meetings? I think they do.
No, that owl did not work in that environment at all. And I'm telling you, you're talking to nobody up there.
Yeah,
I mean, you can have some
They
big
don't
budget
even
items.
report it like we report these.
I think our.
No, it's on a recorder, the minutes are transcribed.
Yeah.
But, yeah. You need to be there to hear it and hear the problems that are going on, and there's a lot involved. This, I hate to say this is an easier job than being a principal in school, trying to deal with all of the moving pieces and money. So, just encourage your friends to go.
Okay, thank you, Carol.
I mean, the last few years, the school budget is coming in consistently.
$16 million.
But for them,
No,
it's
But-
not
but let
actually,
me tell-
previous years, it's been,
no, it hasn't, John, not actually, it's considered default, but it's actually gone up substantially because the way they calculate their defaults.
Yep.
There's pre-existing contracts that they're allowed to run, so when the voters go to the polls and they see the default budget and the new budget. And it shows like no difference, that's not actually,
Mhm.
it is from what the new default would be, it looks like there's no increase, but it's not that there's no increase.
well, the school budget has passed the last few years.
It has. The
Again,
offsets
probably
again,
because of that
default,
narrative.
Yeah,
Right.
see.
When you talk about people that don't know
Yes.
what they're voting for.
There you go.
Fancy a carrier.
Yeah.
Plus,
It's, yeah, fancy.
It couldn't be any different, than maybe we get information, but, that piece would still be the same.
Yeah, their budget calculations are vastly different than ours.
So there's that much regularity when they present their budgets that somebody would be able to draw that conclusion of all those salaries?
Probably not.
It's low, right? I don't,
Salaries are a whole different bailiwick,
yeah,
because you have your step and then you get longevity. So even if you don't get a raise, you get longevity. We used to have, I don't know, I heard that 10 teachers resigned this year.
that's.
So they have a deficit to fill there. So I don't know where they fell in that continuum of, are they longtime teachers? Are they there, those that have been there a couple of years that salaries aren't as high as others?
Is that discussed at school board meetings or not?
It could very well be. Sometimes it's not public, but I'm just saying,
Yes, I thank you, but I wanna get.
have your friends go. That's the
Okay,
bottom
we just-
line. Have your friends go if they want to complain about a budget.
Okay, I think that was it for the selectmen budget presentation, unless there was any other comments or questions from the board, we
I
had.
have one question. It's regarding assessment. I know we have Avatar and you have Evan who comes in, is it like once a week?
Every other.
Every other. Okay. Do we have anyone currently in the town hall that is, because I know he would approve exemptions and credits with me. But do we have anybody here in the town hall who is making sure that the properties that are receiving exemptions and credits are still eligible to receive those exemptions
So
and
that's
credits?
part of,
Specifically transfers.
that is part of the process, so every 5 years, even though they're called
Yeah.
permanent credits and exemptions, every 5 years they get recertified, so he mails a letter out, and people have gotten very upset before because they're instructed when they get that letter, if you are still living here, if you're still eligible, and they'll say, well, I was a veteran 10 years ago, why do you think I'm not a veteran now? The point of it is to make sure that somebody didn't die, they didn't move, they're no longer there, so they do have to reply in order to. Yes,
So they're only giving it those, that 5 year.
and that's set by state or city.
Why did they take it off?
Yes, and then we have had people who show up and say, what the heck happened to me? And I said, I sent you the letter, why didn't you reply? And then he can fix it real quick and easy, he just has to think, he needs to verify, they are still there, they are still eligible.
As somebody who worked for the DRA and somebody who was in towns doing audits of those exemptions and credits. I know that I've been in towns where we have found hundreds of thousands of dollars that the town was not getting because they still have properties developing those exemptions credits had been transferred many times over. But there was nobody that was keeping up with it, so that's why I was curious if there was anyone here.
I believe
Kevin
that
does,
is
Kevin
still
does.
Yes, yes.
He does a fantastic job.
John, do you have what you need for information about what we talked about with guidance to the departments of, you know, different lines and
Yes,
all of that? Thank you.
thank you.
Perfect, that was really my quick question before you guys, John, I know, everybody about the budgets and what you guys are looking for. First.
And then we will move on to other business. I had requested that we pull the minutes from the consent calendar just because, and I know it's gonna be more work, I hate to do it to you, John. But the non-public minutes, the first time I noticed it was the minutes of May 18th. I love how detailed they are, showing all the statements. But I feel it should show who's speaking. When I read them, I was in the meetings and I get. Those paragraphs have one person speaking halfway through the paragraph. I know only because I know that it was a different speaker. But there's no way, the point of these meeting minutes to me, somebody should be able to read them, even if they're non-public and you're not releasing them to anybody. Some of them could potentially go to court or be requested or need to be turned over to somebody as something. And I do think having the speaker's names put in, is important.
Yeah, that was the main reason why I followed non-publics. Okay. And then for the public ones, June 15th public, there was at least one typo with Darcy Kathleen, very first paragraph to Mr. Kelsey. And then also there's motion stated in there for the budget process, but it's not written the way the motion was given and that it should be. I mean, many times motion should be.
Yeah, so I guess my request is that for these minutes that I pulled, but also the previous, especially those May 18th non-public, that was a deliberation, hearing that we had for officer names. I think that the speakers should be pointed out on those minutes. And I don't think it's a rush. I know that you're very busy, but I would like to see that. Is the board okay with that? And that was it for me for other business. Does anybody else?
So the May 18th minutes and what other minutes?
Not all the non-public ones that since then that don't have, that are just put together with just the words, but they don't show who's speaking. I think the minutes should show.
That's gonna take me quite a while, so I'll have to listen if we're recording.
I remember a lot of it off the top of my head. If you'd like, I will go through and make a stab at it and send it to you. You could even send that, the board members should know what they said. I could do that, and then the board members can read it and say, no, that wasn't me, but yeah, they could review it and say, no, that wasn't me, that was so and so, and I did that way, teamwork.
Other than
between
that,
us.
that will take me weeks,
Okay.
because I don't think I
Yeah.
can
I know it's,
accomplish all that.
yeah, I know it's a lot, and I figured that's why they were being done without the names to begin with, because it looked like maybe you were using AI or something. and
That is
yeah.
all I've been able to use
Yeah.
because I did not want to rewrite.
Yes, I don't look, and I love how clear they are, that it catches every,
Right,
But
I
it just
understand there's
makes
some
it-
deficits with that,
yeah,
but other than me going through and listening to every recording and actually rewriting them myself, that'll take hours,
yeah,
more than I have.
yeah. No, I could go through, I already did the May 18th ones.
I think
so
what I
I'll
would
send-
recommend is if people have an idea of how they want it to look, go ahead and make those drafts, then share them with the board and they can review them. And then vote on them at that time.
That sounds good. I'm ready to.
So I will bring the non-public minutes. May 18th and which other ones?
I already did the May 18th one, so I'll send those to
Okay,
you.
send those to me.
As I was reviewing them, I could make things like.
And then you're talking about the June 15th?
Yeah,
All
all
of
of the June 15th.
I think it was all of the non-public meetings after May 18th. I think all of those ones have been in that same format. Is that when you started using the AI? So that's when we started getting them, and I love the clarity, the verbatim, that it catches every word. But as I said, you can't tell who's saying what, and you can have multiple speakers in the same paragraph, so it's really, if you're reading it and you weren't at the meeting, it's. You see what was said, but you have no context, you have no idea who's speaking, if there's been a change, or. And I think that's important for the record.
And maybe we could do a better job of announcing
Yeah.
who we
We
are
are.
prior to.
If you
It's
do, if you do that, the recorder will pick it up and then the AI.
Yeah.
Which makes sense to.
I'm trying to remember that.
Well, for every time before we speak, so like right now, it's say Kathleen Palacier and then speak, I think
Yes.
that's what you're saying, we're never gonna stick to it.
That would be the only way it's going to pick it up, other than someone listening to the recording and rewriting.
We had a program prior, right before we hired you, that the other John was using. Where it did know the speaker, so what it did was the first couple of times, it would label, like, it didn't know me, so I'd be speaker one, it would know my voice. Speaker two, speaker three, then when the minutes came up, after you told it speaker one was me 2 or 3 times, it started to know, and then it started to do the minutes with Kathleen.
I think that
Sure.
was applaud, PLAUD,
Applaud,
PLAUD.
AUD, yes.
Can you
So,
ask the,
well,
John, can you ask the guy that came to the school meeting? You know, about the individual microphones that are gonna be part of the,
Oh,
well, could be part of it.
Could that-
Could that identify?
okay.
Which Diane and I were there, you were there. So there's been people there, and maybe that's something that, you know, he can pick up
yeah,
a program that will make that easy.
There's gotta be with the AI, there's gotta be a thing where you announce at the beginning and it knows your voice,
yes.
so.
Yeah,
There's gotta be.
There are programs that, like, when we do our roll call, it identifies, it identifies that name and that.
Yeah, of course.
The applaud one did.
I do
that
have an
one
account
was-
I will have, and that I've never used.
Yeah.
I have all of the material in the microphone, I'll dig that out,
Okay, tomorrow.
yes.
Because we were doing minutes that way.
So as you finish those minutes, just send them, to me, and I'll share them.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other business?
I hate to do this, but I did have one other thing I just saw, I don't know what you guys are watching. So the New Hampshire Fire meetings for program chief called or reached out to me today with the email, and I meant to print it out, and I totally forgot. Is looking to see if Allenstown would be willing to not donate, but bring our ladder truck up there for 2 days during the Explorer Academy, which is September. Joe brought the emails, I think it's 17th and 18th, so Thursday and Friday, just during the day to run. So they've run the Explorers the last 2 days as they're in the fire department, and they respond out to the drill yard in the fire academy. But they use other departments' equipment than the academies just because they want the people to have like buy-in
Exposure to other.
and exposure, so we have. As of right now, 3 of our, I think it's 3 or 2 of our personnel that will be up there both those days actually working, to train the kids on those days. So they were looking to see if the town would be willing to loan the ladder up there for the 2 days, which one of our guys would drive up and be operating it up there with them. So it's nothing extreme, it's just going from their firehouse at the fire academy to the backyard to the burn building.
Yeah.
Doing their exercise and then going back to the firehouse, waiting for the next exercise and just doing this rotation.
Maybe you can let other people know that we're donating our truck.
Exactly,
So you have coverage.
exactly, yep, we'll have coverage, we won't miss out on coverage, we'll have Pembroke and Hooksett still have their ladders, so we'll still have a ladder nearby, it's just those 2 days, and I said, when we bring it to the board and let them give me the green light to say yes before I would say yes.
And our people will be manning.
Our people will be managing it, so it's on our guy.
Does anybody have any concerns or think that should be
John,
on
I want
it?
to.
So we're all set then, the board as a whole is good with it?
Yes.
Okay, looks like we're good with it.
Thank you guys, sorry about that.
We don't need to vote
Yeah,
on it
you
officially.
I know, but it's funny to sit here thinking of.
And we do have a non-public
Yes, I
tonight. Alright. So that's the end of our regular
I came in to just touch on a couple things as far as the Gatsby 75 is complete for 2025. I got a complete notice from Nyhart. They're just going through their last minute things. I have not heard from Plodzik because we did such a great job this last time that they have not contacted us in the 2 weeks that they've been gone because they have all their information. So that is going very well. We're just waiting for their last minute whatevers, but they have not even been in contact. As far as wanting employee salaries and wages, that's something that would have to be pulled through Harper's and not through MTS. So that's something that I could do, because I'm the only one that has access to Harper's administration for employee salaries and such. As far as the wage salary analysis, they did ask for job descriptions. We were all in charge of writing job descriptions. So they did take that in consideration when doing their wage analysis, which we are still under. I just wanted to come in and throw a couple of points out. Just to, while I was thinking about it, because sitting at home, I'm going,
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, we made you jump up off your couch.
I'm still in jammies.
Thank you, that is helpful.
Yeah, my.
You're all set.
Okay, so now.
My.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to enter non-public session at 8 P.M. A second? Second. All in favor? Diane,
Chris, sorry.
Kathleen, aye.
Closely good.
Yeah, okay.
Meeting off that door going down.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.